Now that the trouble is gone, we can relax and have some fun, John whispered to his niece. The trouble he meant was his own daughter. I had to leave home quickly for a business trip and felt worried about being away from my daughter for several days. But John reassured me and said to go without worry. My daughter and John often spent time together, so I felt safe leaving her with him. However, recently, my daughter's behavior had been strange. Looking back, I should have paid more attention to these feelings. "Mommy, don't go to work." My daughter clung to my leg, desperate for me to stay, but I didn't notice her silent cry for help. I feel like a failure as a mother. Little did I know that John would lock my daughter in the storage room and go on a trip with his niece. I will never forgive John for what he did to my daughter and niece. My name is Sherry. I married John the same year I got pregnant. Our daughter, Samantha, is now 5 years old. John and I met through a mutual friend. He loved kids and worked at a toy company, and I had just started an important project at work. We were both busy with our jobs and didn't plan to get married, but then I found out I was pregnant with Samantha. Having the baby meant taking maternity leave and risking my career. I had seen others at my company go through this and felt worried about my future. But John comforted me, saying, "I'll quit my job and be a stay-at-home dad." He had taken his job at the toy company because he wanted our future kids to play with the toys he helped create. John had already worked on several products that were on the market. "Let's get married, Sherry," he said, and his words made me decide to have our daughter. I explained the situation to my company and returned to work 3 months after giving birth. Despite a short break, I managed to stay on the project and gain valuable experience by returning to work so soon. After giving birth, things were tough, but thinking of John and Samantha waiting at home made me work harder. Now, I'm leading a new project and try to leave work on time to spend evenings with Samantha. I also work from home at night on weekdays. Even though I sometimes have to work on weekends or go on business trips, Samantha never seemed sad and always encouraged me, saying, "Do well at work, Mom." Being a stay-at-home dad wasn't fully understood by society, but as a family, we managed our roles well and lived happily. One day, my sister-in-law came to talk about her divorce. Her husband, who was 10 years older than her, had frequent arguments with her. Recently, these fights got worse and he hit her. "That must have been tough for you," I said. "Not at all. I actually feel relieved," she replied. "I don't have to see my daughter, Lily, cry anymore." Her 11-year-old daughter, Lily, had seen her dad hit her mom and started crying, which made him stop. My sister-in-law feared the violence might turn towards Lily, so she decided to divorce him. Hearing this, John joked, "If you ever need anything, just say the word. I'm always home," making everyone laugh. I agreed with John's words. My sister-in-law had helped convince our in-laws when John decided to quit his job and become a full-time stay-at-home dad. She had said, "It's not about being a man or a woman. Nowadays, whoever can do it should do it." Without her support, we might not have had a good relationship with our in-laws. Our happiness is partly thanks to her. "We're in this together. Feel free to rely on us anytime," I said. "Really? Thank you. Actually, I've been thinking about moving to your neighborhood. Would that be a bother?" she asked. "Bother? Not at all," I replied. She had to leave her rental apartment and was looking for a new place to live. She had shared her apartment with her ex-husband and considered moving back to her in-laws' house, which was an hour away. However, this would make her commute difficult and force Lily to change schools. Luckily, our house was in Lily's school district, and they found a vacant apartment nearby. They decided to move in. John suggested, and we agreed to look after Lily after school until her mom finished work. My sister-in-law had been working part-time, but after her divorce, she started working full-time. She was worried about Lily being home alone after school. Lily was already in 5th grade, and my sister-in-law felt she might be overprotective, but John convinced her otherwise. "It's better to be cautious before something happens. At least while she's in elementary school, we should keep a close eye on her," John said. He had always adored his niece, who affectionately called him Big Brother. I also told my sister-in-law that it would be good for Lily to have my daughter as a playmate, so we agreed that Lily would stay with us after school. When my sister-in-law was at work, it marked the beginning of our new family life. Since we lived close by, my daughter and her cousins saw each other often. They quickly adapted to the new routine, and everything seemed to be off to a smooth start. But then my daughter suddenly began to resist being apart from me. She had been used to seeing me go to work from a very young age, so I thought she was comfortable with it. Was she feeling lonely, or was there some other anxiety? I was puzzled by this new behavior of hers. "Mommy's just going to work. I'll be back tonight," I reassured her, but my daughter clung to my leg, unwilling to let go. When I asked what was wrong, she just shook her head. Lily will be here this evening, so you won't be lonely, right? I said, but my daughter gripped my leg even tighter each time. I was at a loss. John gently coaxed her off me. It's okay, let mommy go to work now. Let's wave goodbye to her, he said. My daughter would reluctantly wave goodbye to me. I wondered what was causing her to behave this way. Despite my concerns, my job kept me from spending as much time with her as I wanted. Even when I discussed it with John, he optimistically suggested maybe something happened at preschool. Besides, Lily is here too. If there's something she can't talk to us about, she might be talking to Lily. You think so? I hope that's the case. Don't worry, look at this picture from today, John said, showing me a photo on his phone of Lily and my daughter whispering to each other, covering their mouths as if sharing a secret. See this? I think children find it easier to talk among themselves, he added. I decided not to press my daughter for answers. Lily adored my daughter like a little sister, and I hoped my daughter's behavior was just a phase. I was nearing a point where my work would settle down, so I planned to take some leave and spend time with my daughter soon. I reassured myself with this plan. However, a sudden business trip came up, and I had to be away from home for 5 days. Despite my concerns, John's words, "Don't worry, go ahead," encouraged me, so I packed my bags and left. 2 days later, Lily was visiting, and I left the house with John, my daughter, and Lily seeing me off. I remember John and Lily smiling broadly, but I was still worried about my daughter. I had no idea what was about to happen. By the time I boarded the train, things were unfolding at home that I hadn't expected. John had started preparing to leave. Seeing this, Lily asked anxiously, "Isn't Samantha coming with us?" Samantha is going to join her mom on the business trip as soon as her mom comes back from the office. They'll head out together, John said. I see, Lily replied, satisfied with the explanation. John then instructed my daughter, Samantha, "There's something important of mom's in the storage room. Can you find it for her before she gets back?" Samantha believed him and headed to the storage room to look for a non-existent small round piece of jewelry. Once she was inside, John closed the door from the outside. Unaware, my daughter did not notice the door being shut. John muttered to himself, "The nuisance is gone. Now we can relax." He then took Lily's hand, who still looked uneasy, and they left for their trip. 4 days later, John returned in a great mood, casually chatting to a downcast Lily. "The trip was so much fun, wasn't it?" John said just before opening the front door, but then he noticed the storage shed in the corner of the yard and turned pale. He remembered he had left Samantha behind. "She must have come out by now. I didn't lock it after all," he muttered. Lily overheard this and exclaimed in shock, "You left Samantha in there?" She ran towards the shed, ignoring John's attempts to stop her. "Samantha," Lily called out as she approached the shed. What they saw next was an unidentifiable liquid seeping out from under the shed's door. "What is this? No way." Lily tried to open the shed door in a panic, but John stopped her. "Stop, don't look," John said. "What do you mean, don't look? Is Samantha in there?" Lily turned pale and blamed John. "Why did you leave her there? You said Samantha was going with Sherry on her business trip." Lily's cries of anguish echoed around them. John, trembling while being blamed by Lily, muttered, "What have I done?" It was then that I finally spoke up from behind him. "Where have you been?" My voice was so cold it sent chills down my own spine. I never knew I could feel anger intense enough to produce such a tone. My daughter, Samantha, standing next to me, felt the same way despite her youth. She looked at her father with eyes full of accusations. John, he suddenly turning around, was frozen in shock upon seeing me and Samantha. "Sherry, Samantha." Contrary to his astonishment, Lily burst into tears and hugged Samantha. "Thank goodness, Samantha, you're safe." Hugged by Lily, Samantha shifted her gaze away from John and hugged Lily back, as if confirming her safety. I wondered how much these children had been affected by John's actions. I stood protectively in front of my daughter Samantha and niece Lily. John's concern seemed faint as he muttered towards Samantha, "I'm glad you're safe." "Glad she's safe after you left her behind? What are you saying?" I retorted, my anger evident. Samantha said, "I wanted to be with you." "Why are you here, Sherry? Weren't you on a business trip? You were supposed to return tomorrow." "Oh, so you thought you'd be back before I got home. Could it be that you often leave Samantha like this when I'm away?" John fell silent at my words. His silence spoke volumes. I'd already heard the story from Samantha. "I'll be hearing it from Lily as well," I said, turning to Lily, who was still embracing Samantha. She met my gaze firmly and nodded as if she had made a decision. The fact that I was able to rescue my daughter Samantha was a stroke of sheer luck. The thought of what could have happened if my business trip hadn't been canceled sends shivers down my spine. On the day I was supposed to leave, I did indeed board the Amtrak. However, mid-journey, I received a sudden notification that the trip was canceled. I got off the train and returned home directly, arriving earlier than planned. Finally, I would have a chance to talk with Samantha. I took a taxi from the station, rushing home. As I got out of the taxi and approached the front door, I heard a voice calling, "Mommy," thinking Samantha had seen me and was running towards me. I turned towards the voice, shocked to hear Samantha calling from inside the storage shed. In a panic, I opened the shed door to find my daughter drenched in sweat and sobbing uncontrollably. At her feet lay the burst remnants of a water-filled bouncy ball, a toy I had given her when she first started showing signs of distress. This toy was developed by John during his time at the toy manufacturer. It became clear that Samantha had panicked when she realized the door was shut, accidentally causing the ball to burst, explaining the liquid seeping out of the shed. The floor was scattered with Samantha's old clothes. "What happened? Why are you in here?" I hugged my crying daughter and asked her. What she told me ignited a fury in me like I had never felt before in my life. "Samantha said you asked her to look for my jewelry," I said. She was deeply shocked for being left behind and being locked in. The door wasn't locked. I thought she would come out on her own. Being suddenly shut in is frightening, even for adults. It's not surprising she panicked and couldn't open it. Now I finally understand why Samantha started acting out. My husband should have noticed the cause anyway, as he was the cause of it. After we started looking after Lily, John began to favor her, neglecting Samantha. My daughter felt increasingly lonely as John paid attention only to Lily. Samantha, caring for me and my busy schedule, could only express her feelings in such a way. It seems she also knew Lily was troubled by John's behavior. The photo of them whispering might have been taken while they were discussing this. Samantha really wanted to talk to me about Lily and hoped I could help in some way. However, Samantha didn't have the right words to accurately convey. Samantha's hesitant words to me revealed her caring nature towards Lily, despite her own loneliness. What a kind-hearted child she is. After hearing Samantha's account, I immediately tried calling John, but he didn't answer. This was unusual, as he would normally call back right away. Sensing something was wrong, I reached out to my sister-in-law. During our conversation, she dropped a bombshell. John had told her he was taking Samantha and Lily on a trip. He had contacted her upon learning about my business trip, saying, "Sherry is going on a long business trip." I thought of taking Samantha and Lily on a trip because Samantha might feel lonely. What do you think? My sister-in-law, caught up in her own work guilt and thinking it would be good for Lily, agreed to the idea of a trip to a theme park. I hadn't heard anything about this plan from John. Learning this, I felt like the blood drained from my face. Could John have been planning to leave Samantha alone at home during this trip? I informed my sister-in-law that Samantha was actually at home. Concerned, she said she would try calling John herself, and we ended the call. Feeling uneasy, I checked around the house and was shocked by what I found. There were lots of prepared meals in the fridge, and the water heater for the bath was left on. Could it be that John had prepared all this so Samantha could stay alone? Was John planning to leave our 5-year-old daughter alone for 4 days with just these arrangements? My sister-in-law managed to reach John, who was at the theme park with Lily. She casually ended the call, saying they had to go for their turn at an attraction. She also received pictures of Lily alone at the park, confirming Lily's safety. Angry yet relieved that Lily was safe, my sister-in-law and I decided to wait for John and Lily's return. John, perhaps trying to provide an alibi, sent me a picture of Samantha and Lily that must have been taken previously at our house. My sister-in-law received photos of Lily playing at the theme park, including a fake story of the two having fun together. Thinking he had fooled us, John returned home in high spirits, completely forgetting about the daughter he left behind. Why did my husband insist on going on a trip so desperately with only his niece? It was beyond understanding. His affection for his niece was one thing, but his actions were abnormal. Why did you want to go on a trip only with your niece so desperately? Why did you leave your own daughter behind? I confronted him, incredulous. That's abnormal, John. Why are you here? I've heard everything from Sherry, my sister-in-law burst in, out of breath from likely running here straight from work. Seeing her, Lily left Samantha and ran to her aunt, saying, "Mom, Lily, I'm sorry." Then, for the first time, Lily told us everything about what John had done. According to Samantha's account and Lily's revelations, it became clear that John's behavior had changed significantly since we started looking after Lily. He began paying attention only to her, and while Samantha noticed this, it was even more distressing for Lily. John developed an unusual obsession with taking photos of Lily. Initially, Lily agreed, thinking the photos were for her mother, and she smiled for the camera. However, over time, John's demands for specific poses escalated, making Lily increasingly uncomfortable. When she once refused and said no, John threatened her, implying he would tell her mother and putting the blame on Lily for not complying. "Lily is a naughty girl for not listening. Maybe I should tell your mom that we can't look after you anymore. She would surely be troubled," John would say, manipulating Lily's desire not to upset her mom. He continued taking her pictures, and eventually, he took her on a trip, just the two of them. "I really didn't want to go on the trip. It was creepy when he held my hand," Lily confessed. "Hey Lily, that's not true, right? You used to be happy with me, asking me to pick you up." Hearing this, my sister-in-law yelled, "How old are you talking?" and hugged Lily tightly. Again, Lily, like Samantha, had been enduring John's behavior. Not wanting to worry her aunt, Lily had misunderstood John's affection as kindness. My sister-in-law tearfully apologized to Lily for not sensing the danger and agreeing to the trip so casually. She regretted always having John look after Lily. "I'm sorry, Lily. If only I had been more careful." Lily shook her head in her mother's arms and said in a trembling voice that she never wanted to see John again. John began to panic and pathetically pleaded, "Don't say that, Lily. I just wanted to show you affection. Stay away from Lily from now on." Then, my sister-in-law demanded he delete the photos and snatched his phone. In his panicked state, however, upon seeing the photo folder, she was lost for words. There was an abnormal amount of photos of Lily saved. Lily's expressions in the photos seemed forced, and it was clear she was frightened. In retrospect, all the photos John sent never had Lily looking directly at the camera. John must have noticed the change in Lily's expressions too. That's why he only sent photos where her expressions weren't clear. Yet he let his desires run wild and took Lily away. It was disgusting. I felt nauseated by John's abnormal behavior. My sister-in-law, holding the phone tightly, seemed frozen in place. We both shielded our daughters behind us, confronting John. There was no way I could forgive him for leaving Samantha behind, and I didn't want him near our daughters ever again. All feelings of affection had vanished in an instant. "It's not like that. Listen to me. I love Lily, and of course I love Samantha too." John continued to make excuses, only further frightening Samantha and Lily. I presented him with the divorce papers I had prepared during his trip, gathered our belongings, took Samantha, and left the house. I couldn't bear to share the same air with him for another moment. My sister-in-law and Lily followed us out. All that followed were my husband's sad screams. Afterward, I took my sister-in-law and Lily to their parents' house and informed them about John's behavior. When I mentioned leaving him with the divorce papers, my in-laws promised to handle everything from there. They assured us they would prevent John from approaching us again. Lily finally seemed to find some peace upon hearing their words. My sister-in-law and Lily decided to stay with my in-laws for the time being, planning to sort out work and school later. Though it likely meant Lily would have to change schools, we couldn't discount the possibility of John lurking around her school route. Samantha and I decided to return to my parents' home too. During John's trip, I had been managing work, household chores, and childcare alone. Thankfully, Samantha was resilient, and I felt confident that we could manage well on our own. Living without John, just the two of us, seemed entirely feasible. Those hellish 4 days indeed contributed to my newfound confidence. For a while, we'll live at my parents' house, grateful for their kindness, but I plan to move closer to my workplace before Samantha starts elementary school. We started our new lives, but John was still stuck in the past. Thanks to my in-laws, I was able to finalize the divorce from John without ever having to see him. But he continued to call afterward and even showed up at my parents' house, despite being cut off by my in-laws from any contact with me, my daughter, and their home. John pathetically tried to seek reconciliation. "I can't imagine life without Sher and Samantha." His words only instilled fear in me. I asked my parents to contact the police, who came and took away John. He was screaming at our doorstep. The police served him a restraining order, and finally, he seemed to understand he was alone. All this destruction was his doing, and it was too late for regrets. I wondered how John, having been a stay-at-home dad, planned to live since then, but that was no longer my concern. Samantha had been down for a while after the incident, but she's finally starting to smile again. the divorce from John, we still keep in touch with my sister-in-law and Lily, and their smiles are returning too. To overwrite the traumatic memories of the theme park with Lily, we're planning a trip there, just the four of us. I'm looking forward to creating many happy memories for Samantha and Lily.